This is the Jose Soto Show. You're listening to Jose Soto. Now, if you think this whole Chick-Fil-A thing is going to be over soon, you're wrong. And of course, today is National Chick-Fil-A Appreciation Day. Right? That was created by none other than good old Mike Huckabee, a famous Dixiecrat theologian and a person who really is a swindler, person that has made money out of that kind of theology. And that's what, most of it comes to that. I mean, that's what the operatives get. They get money. But the controllers who control this part of the theological spectrum, they enjoy it. They enjoy people, especially Americans, at each other's throats to fight each other instead of fighting them, right? I mean, that's what it really comes down to. For us gay people, it's simple. Gay people know that Chick-fil-A is bad. We don't go to Chick-fil-A. Well, most of us that have any ounce of sense to control our stomach urges. And if we're able to do that, I mean, that's what we need to do. I mean, it's our own responsibility. You can tell your friends about it, you can tell your neighbors, you can tell your parents, you can tell your church. I don't care. But as long as we gay people are responsible to ourselves, we don't need to convince anybody else. We don't need to go really far off. All we have to do is mention the quotes, present the documentation, and there you are. Where does the money go to? It goes to anti-gay groups who want gays deported out of the country and who think that gay people should go to jail for being gay. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about gay marriage. We're not talking about any of that other stuff. We're talking about simple facts here. Okay? But Dan Cathy mixed it up a little bit. Now he's talking about gay marriage. Now all of a sudden, this whole fight, this whole Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day is all a bunch of baloney. It's all bullshit. It's all based on false pretenses. Because somehow you, dumb idiot, fat face, believe that by going to Chick-fil-A you're going to support traditional marriage and help fight the gay agenda. Oh, you're wrong. In fact, let me remind you why you're wrong. Now, while Dan Cathy is going around, prancing around, talking about how good of a Christian he is, we have other people involved in Chick-fil-A. Now, you do know that Chick-fil-A is run by franchise owners. That means that it's not directly managed by Dan Cathy or the corporation, but you have independent franchise owners who own these various restaurants. So you have one in New Hampshire that's going to this franchisee who owns a Chick-fil-A up in New Hampshire. He's going to contribute money to the Gay Pride Parade. Alright? So, not all is a win for the anti-gay crowd, the brainwashed zombies, useful idiots. And many other franchise owners, not the majority of them, but there's a nice number of them who support gay rights, and some of them have said that they're going to continue and start contributions and donations to gay organizations. And of course, the mainline gay orgs like the Human Rights Campaign, I mean, that's the one that really brought my attention, is now, of course, taking advantage of this day say, hey, instead of buying a chicken sandwich, why don't you contribute to the human rights campaign so we can have not only chicken sandwiches, lobsters, we have nice gala dinners and at your expense. Nice. I have nothing personally against human rights campaign, but I just hopefully will get something out of that organization with a new leadership. Hopefully. Many things are going on today on the Chick-Fil-A fiasco. Today being August 1st, 2012 is National Appreciation Day for Chick-Fil-A. But before I go there, let me play you this clip. And it's Dan Cathy, the COO. This is the man that brought this all onto himself. I mean, remember, he only wants to sell chicken, right? That's all he wants to do, so sell chicken. Well, here's a new clip that has been dug up today, and we also had that linked up as a main headline over at thegayreport.net, and here it is.
And it's very clear in Romans chapter 1. If we look at society today, we see some of all the twisted up kind of stuff that's going on. Washington trying to redefine the definition of marriage, and all the other kinds of things that we go on. If you go upstream from that, in Romans chapter 1, you'll see that because we have not acknowledged God, and because we have not thanked God, that we've been left victim to the foolishness of our own thoughts. And as a result, we are suffering the consequences of a society and culture who has not acknowledged God or not thanked God, and he's left us to a deprived mind.
Deprived mind.
We live in a culture of that today.
So what he's saying is, yeah, those of us that want economic rights for gay people, we have deprived minds. Oh, Jesus. You mean because we want financial security? That's being depraved and twisted? So, after you hear that, do you think this is just all about gay marriage? I mean, that's all. This is just an innocent man who just wants to sell you some chicken. That's all he wants to do. Never mind that he's worth billions. Right? And even though Charlie Bryan Brown of the National Organization for Dismarriage, they say, oh, wait a minute, tycoons, right? Fat cats are behind gay marriage. And even though they're backing one fat cat, and today this fat cat has made lots of money. And I keep hearing reports of these drive-thrus being backed up. A lot of people going and flocking over to the Chick-Fil-A to support Dan Cathy. And some people are saying, oh, I support freedom of speech. Well, if you support freedom of speech, why don't you go to a KKK rally and support them? I mean, they have freedom of speech too. Why don't you support their freedom of speech? Why don't you go and to a KKK rally or to a KKK gun shop? I've been to one of them when I was over at Georgia. A friend of mine wanted to go buy some guns. I don't remember for what, but I think it was for a gun show, and he was gonna resell them. And we went to this gun shop, and in the back they had this little warehouse where they keep all the guns. Well, there was always like Confederate flags and, you know, Knights of the KKK stuff, and well, they looked at me kind of weird because I was, you know, Mexican. But hey, they have freedom of speech. I mean, that's what we're talking about. If that's all you care about, then whenever anybody says a racist thing or an anti-Semitic thing, we have to respect that. We cannot criticize that, because that's what we're doing. We cannot criticize Dan Cathy. We cannot judge the merits of what he says. Now, the other side is also wrong, and I keep saying this. What we're doing is giving out free promotion for Chick-fil-A, with all these attempts at trying to ban them from the cities, trying to start a boycott. But a boycott, people say it's a form of freedom of expression. Well, okay, fine. But we don't have to basically announce this boycott and say now we're going to start a boycott. No, I mean, just announce the facts and let people decide themselves if they want to boycott or not. And many people will, in fact, not go there for a while. Well, for the rest of their lives, probably. But for now, we are losing because obviously Chick-fil-A today got a lot of sales. I mean, there were lines packed. I mean, it was a circus today, and many Chick-fil-A's across the country. So, did we win today? No. Obviously. Who won today? Dan Cathy won today. He made a lot of money today. Thanks to his best friend and his BFF, Mike Huckabee, and his other BFF, Sarah Palin, who said that that we are trying to crucify Dan Cathy. Right? This man is being crucified because there are people out there that don't want to eat at his restaurants. Seriously? Yes. So that means that those who wanted to boycott, Starbucks? Oh, yes. Oh, they're trying to crucify that CEO of Starbucks. Oh, yeah, they were crucifying poor Starbucks. What about General Mills when they had that little protest outside? Remember that? That wasn't that long ago. Well, they wanted to boycott, dump General Mills, right? And what happened to that fiasco? It's all over now. Everybody forgot about General Mills. And everybody forgot about Starbucks. Now we're all focused on Chick-fil-A. There you go. And it really frustrates me that people deviate from the original discussion of this. And it really, I don't know. I'm not saying it frustrates me, but it also frustrates me what the people who support Chick-fil-A are saying. They don't even know what's the real issue. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous in a way. It is. Because if you support Chick-fil-A, you support anti-gay things. If you don't support Chick-fil-A, you're pro-gay. I mean, that's... Why does Chick-fil-A have to be in the middle of this? Well, they're the ones that are going to end up winning in the end. Either way. Okay? And I never seen this. I never really recall any of this done to a product before. It's not like, even the Starbucks thing wasn't that big of a deal. But here we are. Man. People who defend Chick-fil-A are really serious. I mean, they take this serious. I mean, this is better than the Olympics. This is better than winning a gold medal. Is to eat a damn fucking Chick-fil-A and stuff your fat fucking ugly faces with deep fried shit that will eventually one day clog up your arteries. But who cares about that? I tell you. People are just so, I wouldn't say ignorant, but I think people are just so really hopeless. I feel hopeless because I think that my fellow human beings are much more smarter than this. Right? We are using Chick-fil-A and a chicken sandwich that's loaded with grease and fat, using it as a new political theological weapon. And they are enjoying it. I mean, if Chick-fil-A is making good money out of this, why not? And who is to blame for all this? Of course, well, part of it is those gay people that wanted this boycott. We just wanted to relate the information. I didn't say anything about a boycott. I didn't say anything about banning Chick-fil-A from cities and towns. I didn't say anything like that because the more you do that, the more Chick-fil-A looks like the victim. But I think, and I discussed this with my friend who is also closely monitoring this more than I am, but he visited a couple of Chick-fil-A's down in the southeast, down in Florida and up in Georgia, South Carolina, that area. And he's telling me, that, yeah, I mean, they're getting good business today, this week, this month. But it's going to die down. I mean, this can't last forever. I mean, there has to be a time when people say, you know what, that Catholic guy was an asshole. There has to be a time. It's like when all these racist cartoons used to be popular, like Songs of the South and all these Bugs Bunny cartoons that were, that depicted black people in a certain way. Well, those were very popular back then, but once people started to realize that, wait a minute, I think this is a little bit racist, and right now I can't really find that movie from Disney, Songs of the South. I can't find it. It's really hard to find. I have a huge Disney collection, and I have not. That's the only movie I'm missing, is Songs of the South. I've seen it before, but I cannot find a VHS copy of it. So, but just like that movie basically was dumped in a dustbin of history, I think that's what's going to happen to Chick-fil-A pretty soon. Not pretty soon, I would suspect within a generation or so. Probably within a couple years, you're going to start seeing the impact. But it's not going to be a boycott that's going to be impacting it. It's going to be the information. The boycott was a bad approach. And like I said, I keep repeating this, it's a bad approach. Because a boycott, you have to be committed to it, you have to get people to join it, and you have to make people stop from going to Chick-fil-A. And that's not going to happen because, like I said, the base of Chick-fil-A, the customer base, are all a bunch of fat asses who like to stuff their faces with all this deep fried shit. And no American, no fat ass American is going to stay away from that for any reason. Especially for gay people or gay rights. Please. Let's be real here for a second. But this is not going to last. Believe me. Trust me. That's why I'm smiling. It's not going to last. Alright, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. So what do you think about this? What about the gay employees at Chick-fil-A? What about them? Oh yeah. And I think that's really the people that we should be looking at for, is these gay employees. And finally, some of them have decided to come out and talk about their experience at Chick-fil-A. So we have this article here from the Huffington Post of these gay employees talking about this whole fiasco. And I think we should really worry about these people. Not worry, but I mean, these are gay people, right? The gay community should worry and should take care of each other. We should take care of members of our community. And when there are people who are stuck like this, who have nothing, else to do, who probably are stuck in the mud, who are, between the wall and the spade. I mean, you're just, how can we deal with this? So, here's this article and talks about a couple employees. Says here, Andrew, a gay 24-year-old who has been working at the Northern Alabama Chick-Fil-A since January, sat in his car smoking a cigarette and watching the crowd during a break earlier Wednesday. Quote, I call it Hater Appreciation Day, said Andrew, who asked that his last name be withheld out of fear he'll be fired. It's very, very depressing, he says. Chick-fil-A has long come under fire from activists for giving millions to groups that advocate against gay rights and even support ex-gay therapy. See, that's what we should be talking about. The ex-gay therapy crap and giving to the Family Research Council crap. But the fire has ratcheted up in recent weeks following interviews in which Kathy said he was guilty as charged of supporting the biblical definition of the family unit. See, now where did this come from? That's what I'm having trouble with. Where we're talking about this, and then Dan Cathy rolls in his big old chicken truck, clocking away, and now he's taking us in a whole different direction. And that's what I'm really pissed off about. Now, Chick-fil-A sits at the center of a fierce debate over same-sex marriage. Again, why same-sex marriage? That wasn't what we were talking about. Gay rights and free speech, with politicians, activists, and newspaper editorial boards weighing in from all sides. The company has remained mostly silent on the issue. On the company's Facebook page, a post declares the Chick-fil-A culture and service tradition in our restaurants is to treat every person with honor, dignity, and respect, regardless of their belief, race, creed, sexual orientation, or gender. Yeah, but it's not really a company policy. It's not. I mean, if you look at their policy book, and I had an employee of mine of Chick-fil-A who was kind enough to fax me over the employee handbook. I'm not going to say who it was, obviously, because this is confidential material, but I read it, and there's nothing anti-gay in here, but nothing about this respect people regardless of their sexual orientation. There is an anti-discrimination thing regarding race and religion, but not regarding sexual orientation. So, anyway, because I just want to check that out for myself. And of course, I had another friend of mine who listens to the show every day, and he wanted to know that. So, yeah. So there you go. No policy on sexual orientation. Another group staying mostly silent on the issue are the gay, lesbian, bisexual employees who staff the restaurants. They say that, like most employees of the company, they aren't allowed to speak to the press. For these employees, the last couple of weeks have been very difficult. One gay employee who works at Chick-fil-A headquarters in Atlanta and asked to remain anonymous for fear of losing his job says he is getting it from both sides. Now that's what we have to think about. And I know people are saying, they should look for another job. Well, I mean, hello. I mean, look at the environment in which we are in right now. The job market is horrible right now. On the one hand, there is this customer who came in and said he supported Dan Cathy and then quote continues to say something truly homophobic. Example, I'm glad you don't support the queers. I can eat in peace. Close quote. The employee, who is 23 and has worked for the Chick-fil-A company since he was 16, wrote in an email. On the other hand, he continued, I was yelled at for being a God-loving, conservative, homophobic Christian while walking some food out to a guest in a small dining room, or a mall dining room. That's kind of, that makes me think, do we yell at the employees? I mean, no, of course not. This is not a fight between us and the employees. I mean, who knows? Many employees are gay, and many of them support gay marriage. But that's not even the point of, why bring up gay marriage. What we're talking about is whether or not it's appropriate to donate to organizations who seek the imprisonment of gay people. That's what we're talking about here, folks. Not talking about anything else. We're not talking about gay marriage. We're not talking about the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny. Alright, let's just keep it to what we were talking about first. But since Dan Cathy and Chick-Fil-A doesn't want you and I to talk about that, that's why they went off with this gay marriage thing. Because they can. Because today in America, you can say fags cannot marry and get away with it. Of course you can. It's America. And he says he disagrees with Cathy's views, but the reaction from the public has been just as hard to swallow. It seems like, quote, it seems like very few people have stopped to think about who actually works for Chick-fil-A and what those people's opinions are. They are putting us in a pot and coming to support us or hate us based on something they heard and assume we agree with. Now that's interesting. I mean, not only interesting, but obviously true. I mean, these stupid conservatives, I mean, never mind the boycotters, the people who want to boycott on this, I mean, they are totally off base here. But not only that, we have these stupid conservatives like Sarah Palin, the reactionaries like Mike Huckabee and Brian Brown and the Family Research Council, and you have all these other freaks like Porno Pete come out and say, oh yeah, we have to support the company. But they don't realize is that there are many people in the company who are gay and who, many of them support gay marriage, support the gay rights. Have you ever stopped and think about that, you Chick-fil-A fan? Oh, because Sarah Palin came out on Fox News and she said we had to go eat at Chick-fil-A. Oh, really? Wow, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard, Shakespeare. That's really smart. Smart. Of course you have to support Chick-fil-A. Defend traditional marriage against these fags. What else? And yeah, they go and then, you know, some of their money goes to pay the paychecks. Actually, most of the money goes to payroll. To pay for the payroll, and some of the money goes to Chick-fil-A employees who are gay, supporting that evil demonic lifestyle. God, these freaks and these reactionaries really make me laugh, and they're really pathetic. Now, do we want to be like them? No, I don't want to be like them. That's why I don't call for boycotts like this. Why do I want to call for a boycott? Knowing that it will mostly fail. The boycott has to be direct. It has to have serious effects. Not only that, but you have to get those results within an appropriate time. And I don't think we're going to see results of any boycott anytime soon. Yes, we will see it later on. Probably before I die. Maybe. Maybe the company will have a retraction someday. But not today, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. Not even the next decade. Alright? Because it took Denny's a long time for them to say, yes, we were racist and we didn't want to serve any blacks because they didn't tip or something. That was their excuse. So, just letting you know that maybe we have to look at this at every angle. Not just react to it. The last thing I want gay actors to be is become reactionaries, just like the right-wingers. We have to have some sense of intellectual capacity here, some intellectual talent, if I can say, to all this mayhem that's going around us. I mean, all of this reactionary rhetoric, all these stupid, knee-jerk reactions to what gay people are talking about here, I think says a lot. It gives us an opportunity to think twice. Do you want to be just like Sarah Palin? I don't think so. So acting like a fourth grader and saying, "Oh my God, let's boycott Chick-Fil-A. Let's stop you from opening a restaurant." I mean, that's not gonna work. It's gonna make them look good. And why do you want to make them look good? I thought we were here to make them look, not look bad, but expose what they believe in and what they support financially and morally. And there are a lot of Americans here today that don't support the imprisonment of gay people or support deporting gay people out of the country or any of that shit. And morally, they say, we're not going to support Chick-fil-A. But that's a decision that each individual makes. Having an official boycott is not going to work. We look like idiots. We are going to look like the 1 million doofuses. 1 million moms. Alright? We'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned. This is the Jose Soto Show. And we're back. Let's go ahead and talk about this article. Oh yes, Chick-fil-A has gay employees. I hope most of you know that. Yes, of course. And I was just reading this article, and it talks about how the gay employees of Chick-fil-A are being affected by all of this crap. So, I guess what we have to learn about this is that we have to understand that what we are against is what Dan Cathy stands for, and what he is engaging in, which is donating money to these anti-gay groups. That's what we're talking about. Now, let me just go ahead and go back into this article. We were talking to a 23-year-old gay Chick-fil-A employee who works at the headquarters. And he says that, quote, "I was yelled at for being a God-loving, conservative, homophobic Christian while walking some food out to a guest in a mall dining room." Somebody who hates Chick-fil-A said that to him, not knowing that the guy was gay. You see, I'm not that kind of a moron. In fact, I'm not any kind of moron to do this kind of stuff. I stay away. I neither support nor do I degrade those who work at Chick-fil-A. Okay? It says that your boss has made a lot of mistakes. And you work for this boss. You make him money. And I understand, that's your job and you need money to eat. Yeah, we all need money to eat. You have to eat. I'm not saying anything about that. But unfortunately, it's gone to this point. And I never seen this before. Ever in my life have I seen this before. It didn't happen with Starbucks. It didn't happen with General Mills. It didn't happen with Microsoft or with Google when they supported gay marriage. But then this company comes along and all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose because now the anti-gays have a company they can latch onto. A corporation that can call their own. Chick-fil-A. Worth billions of dollars. $4.5 billion to be correct. Alright. Says here this employee disagrees with Cathy's views, but the reaction from the public has been just as hard to swallow. Quote, "It seems like very few people have stopped to think about who actually works for Chick-fil-A and what those people's opinions are. They are putting us in a pot coming to support us, or hate us based on something they heard and assume we agree with. Ta-da! That's the magic line. And same thing can go with those who support Chick-fil-A. You're supporting them for all the wrong reasons. I mean, you're a bunch of idiots. Those of you who support Chick-fil-A because of this whole gay marriage thing. You're a bunch of useful morons. And it's funny that some of these gay employees were working there, and then you have this anti-gay activist come up, shake their hand. Yes, I support you guys. And he's shaking the hand of a gay man who just probably had butt sex that night before. And of course, that gay man supports gay marriage. Yet you're shaking his hand. Oh yes, I support you and your company for standing up to a traditional marriage. Bunch of morons. But it gets better. It does. And I don't need to post any dumb video to show this, but Gabriel Aguaniga, I hope I spelled that right. That's Mexican? I don't think it's Mexican. Gabriel Aguaniga. I never heard of that last name before. A gay employee at Chick-fil-A in Colorado also said the hardest part hasn't been hearing Kathy's comments. Instead, quote, it's constantly having people come up to you and say, I support your company because your company hates the gays. And he tells it to a gay man. Oh. Aguaniga, 18, wrote in an email, quote, it really takes a toll on me. I mean, I bet. I mean, this is what we have unleashed here. This beast that has been unleashed, this demonic force, if I can call it that. I mean, most of the anti-gay emotions, these hateful emotions, they're pretty demonic. They're not based in love, they're based on fear. And hate is really just fear. I mean, we can talk about hate all we want and say that Dan Cathy's comments were hateful. I don't think they were hateful. I think they were fearful. This is a man who is afraid. But he sells the fear. I mean, that's why many people go to see these horror movies and pay a lot of money to go see it, because they want to have a good fright. They want to be scared out of their minds, scared shitless. Management is encouraging employees, says the article, at the stores to remain neutral no matter what customers say. According to multiple workers interviewed by the Huffington Post, quote, our managers have recommended just saying, thank you for your business. If a customer says they agree with Kathy's comments rather than agreeing or disagreeing with them, Kay, an openly gay Chick-fil-A employee in Louisiana, told HuffPost in an email, but staying neutral can be difficult when it feels like the whole world is passing judgment on everyone associated with the company. Quote, now anyone that works there is stuck with a stigma of being homophobic, even when many of us are far from it, Kay said. One of her co-workers who support same-sex marriage has had people say things like, quote, don't give me that hate shit, and, quote, I hope you choke on that chicken. Sorry, I don't want to laugh at this. It just sounds funny. Sounds like something else, if you know what I mean. Choking your chicken. Wow, I mean, why do we do this? I mean, seriously. Before you dress up like a cow, lesbian, why don't you think about the repercussions of that? We understand what the repercussions were for Dan Cathy when he spoke and opened his big fat mouth regarding this issue and donating money to these anti-gay groups. That was his big mistake, and that was something that he's now paying for, the repercussions. But don't assume that only Dan Cathy has repercussions. So do we. Declaring a boycott has tremendous repercussions. People are going to expect results out of this boycott. So I am against this boycott. You get that? It's pretty simple. And of course, I totally agree with this K employee. Yeah, I mean, why do you assume that everybody in there is homophobic? No, that's not the problem. The problem is the company donates money to anti-gay groups. That's a problem. The problem is not that we have homophobic employees. That's not the problem. And for idiots and morons and airheads to go to Chick-fil-A, dress up as cows with no more hate signs and protesting all this, going there and telling gay employees that they're homophobic, I mean, it's got to be ridiculous. This is what happens when people let down their judgment and become childish morons. That's what it is. But for Kay, the hardest part hasn't been the actions of customers and protesters. It's the money the company gives to anti-gay groups. See, these people are stuck between spade and the wall. I mean, they're really stuck. I mean, they had to, they depend on Chick-fil-A for their livelihoods. But some of the money is going to go to these anti-gay groups. What do we do about that? Hopefully they can find another job and be at peace with themselves. But, like I said, in this job market today, and if you're a manager at a Chick-fil-A, I mean, it's really hard to go to another restaurant and become a manager. Unless if you're really good. Or unless you know somebody. Quote, at the end of the day, part of our profits will still go towards Dan Cathy and subsequently all the organizations he supports, said Kay. She's now actively searching for work elsewhere. Many of her co-workers, she said, are looking for new jobs too. Ah, that's interesting. So now we're going to have a bunch of homophobes working at Chick-fil-A pretty soon because all the pro-gay ones are leaving. That's going to be great. Hey, why... that would be interesting if you go to Chick-fil-A and you see all the Romney kids working behind the counter. Oh, no, they won't be working there. They're worth billions. But how about the Santorum kids? Yeah, they probably will work at Chick-fil-A. That's going to be interesting. And but I don't think that might happen. Look, the other thing is that you have the franchise owners who own and operate these restaurants, and the article goes into that in a bit. The groups Chick-fil-A gives to include the Family Research Council, blah blah blah. We already went through that. Several of the gay and lesbian employees interviewed by the Huffington Post said that they liked their work and had never witnessed incidents of homophobia or discrimination on the job. But Chick-fil-A restaurants are operated by independent owners, and employee experience can vary widely depending on the person running a particular chain. Kelly, a 23-year-old gay woman from Georgia who also requested her last name be withheld for fear of being outed in the press, worked at 2 different Chick-fil-A locations in Georgia. She loved working at the first location, she said, where nobody ever said anything homophobic or discriminatory. Okay. But at the second location in Atlanta, quote, there was a lot of general homophobia. Managers would frequently make homophobic jokes, she said, and she felt that if she were to tell her colleagues she was gay, she would be fired. Eventually, she quit. Another former employee who worked at Chick-fil-A, Chicago, and I think that's the one that said that they were donating money to the gay organizations, didn't they? Yeah, that's the same one because there's only one in Chicago. Here it is. Who worked at the Chick-fil-A in Chicago said he thought the culture of the company encouraged homophobia. Quote, it's very monochromatic, white, male-driven company, said Andrew Mullen, a gay 26-year-old who quit his job last winter after less than a year with the company. Once, Andrew recalled, a company operator leading an employee training session saw 2 men kissing on the patio outside the restaurant and proclaimed to the group he was leading that he thought it was disgusting. Mullen later told the person in charge of corporate training about the incident, and the man was fired. This person was very apologetic for it, and there are a few people here like that. But from what I saw, it's a predominantly pro-ignorant culture. The gay employee who works at headquarters in Atlanta disagreed with this assessment. Aside from the occasional homophobic joke or comment outside of working hours, he said his experience with the company has been extremely positive. And goes on how he kind of defends the company, but at the same time he says that, he's not really pleased with what Dan Cathy said. And then there was another employee who recalled a loader, those people that come in with the shipment of food. The driver of the truck, he was unloading all this food, and he says something like, what did he say? It's somewhere in the article. Oh, here it is. But recently, Andrew says the atmosphere at work has grown nearly intolerable, although plenty of his coworkers have said they don't agree with Cathy's views. On Chick-Fil-A Appreciation Day, one colleague told him proudly that his friends would be eating the fried chicken sandwiches for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, I hope they die of coronary disease. You want to die of coronary disease? Diabetes? Go ahead, be my guest. Go ahead. Last week, when he went out to the parking lot to help a trucker, okay, this is the incident, unload a shipment of goods, the trucker turned to Andrew confidentially and said, "If I see one more faggot at Chick-Fil-A protesting, I'm going to be sick." Close quote. That's interesting. But, I've seen this in other places where I used to work as well, but at least it was dealt with in many instances. But what can we learn from this as well? There are gay employees at Chick-fil-A, and I think that the people should be more interested in this article will be those that love Chick-fil-A. Well, they say, Chick-fil-A is not discriminatory, right? Well, here you are. There's gay employees working there, right? And also, these gay employees are telling you what's going on that your supporters are doing to them. Calling them names. Saying, I wish we didn't have faggots anymore. All this crap. Oh, no, Jose, that has nothing to do with anything. Oh. It has everything to do with this. Alright, we'll be right back after a short break. This is the Jose Soto Show. You're listening to Jose Soto. Stay tuned. Why don't we hear a little clip here of a pastor who is an avid Chick-fil-A supporter and who's using the pulpit to get all of his flock to go to Chick-fil-A and stuff their fat faces and deep fried chicken. Yeah, why don't we do that for Christ? Right? Jesus is looking down upon us, and he's going to judge us if we don't go to Chick-fil-A. The liberals, he said, have gone into a frenzy. Well, first of all, I'm not a liberal. By that definition, which you mean statist, leftist. I'm not a leftist. I do believe in some things that are moderately, I won't say liberal or leftist, but leftists have basically hijacked many of the things that the New Deal crowd, which I kind of am more fond of, we held dear to. The social safety net and all that. Science, technology, the advancement and the progress of American civilization. But that's what the New Deal crowd is saying. And I kind of agree with that. But liberal, what do you mean by that? I mean, of course, they mean statist and, those who support everything that the state says. And I don't support everything that the state says. I don't support the Transportation Safety Agency, TSA. I don't support any of these wars that many liberals support. I don't. Liberals have supported wars, tax increases on the poor, on and on and on. Pollution. I mean, if you really look at it, the real polluters are the government. The real polluters are those who basically put, fluoride in the water. Other chemicals are thrown in the air. You have these chemtrails that we see every day. And we have done a study about that. And some of those chemtrails have traces of potassium and all these other things that can lead to sterilization and all that. I mean, it's just, to me, yeah, let's talk about pollution. Let's talk about the ozone. Let's talk about all that. But let's find out who's really doing the real pollution here. Carbon taxes, all that, that's kind of a cover. That's a cover. Global warming, yes, it's coming, it's here. But so it's in other planets. And if you ask other scientists and astronomers, they'll tell you that there is global warming going on all around the solar system. Because the sun is getting hotter. It's a cycle. Nothing that we can do about it. And it's not human caused. There's been no scientific proof that global warming is caused by humans or any type of industrial progress. And if you call yourself progressive, why would you support regressive ideas like shipping off jobs to other countries and shipping off industries and factories? Why would you want to do that? I thought you were for the middle class, and I thought you were for the little guy, the blue-collar worker, right? And that's why gay people need to start opening their minds and realize we have been duped by many of these liberals who are not liberal, who are not, moderate, New Deal people. So please realize that. Now, this is what, sorry I digress, but I just wanted to make it clear. Some people were saying I'm a liberal, some people were saying I'm conservative. I'm anything but any of those, okay? I am a person, I am a gay man that has certain views of certain things. I may be supporting that, or I may be disagreeing with this other thing. It just depends. I'm just somebody that supports common sense and is not a fanatic. I support things that work. I'm not a fanatic, okay? Let's get that straight. So here's this pastor talking about liberals have gone into a frenzy over the Chick-Fil-A. Their first response, he says, was to try to stop the expansion of businesses with which they disagree. That should be great concern for every American. I mean, this is a pastor supposed to enlighten and give spiritual food to the flock, right? To encourage people to be a man of God. And this is what he's talking about? Chick-fil-A? Promoting Chick-fil-A? If Chick-fil-A is getting free promotion all across the country and all of these anti-gay churches. But this is what he said about gay people. I want you to get this straight. By the way, he supports the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day, and he said, "Let's go to Chick-fil-A this Wednesday to support religious freedom in America," said Jeffries. That's his name. Pastor Robert Jeffries. Where's this guy from? It doesn't say here. I heard about this guy earlier before. Well, he has a radio ministry. Oh, it's a radio ministry. Pathway to Victory. Oh, this is what he said about gay people, by the way. Listen to this.
Amazingly, some gay activists don't even try to hide the link between homosexuality and pedophilia. There are some who right now are actively involved in trying to legalize sex between adults and children by lowering the age of consent or removing it altogether. In all fairness, it would be wrong to suggest that all homosexuals are pedophiles.
That's what you're doing.
To even suggest that the majority of homosexuals are pedophiles.
No, not the majority. No.
But the truth, nevertheless,
yes,
is there.
The truth is there.
There are a disproportionate amount of assaults against children by homosexuals than by heterosexuals. You can't deny that.
Yes,
and
you
the reason
cannot.
is very clear. Homosexuality is perverse. It represents a degradation of a person's mind. And if a person will sink that low, and there are no restraints from God's law, there's no telling to what other sins he will commit as well.
Well, what about your restraints, Pastor? Do you have any restraints? Is this all you are going to say? What else? I mean, gays are faulted for, yes, pedophilia, for the Nazi movement in the 1930s in Germany. We've been faulted for hurricanes, global warming, for the death of for the death of the PR guy at the Chick-Fil-A. The head of the PR department died of a heart attack, and we were blamed for that, by the way. And also we were blamed for Katrina. We were blamed for 9/11. We were blamed for the flood of Noah. We were blamed for global warming. And then the tsunami in Japan and Fukushima. Then we were blamed for the radiation leak. Then we were blamed for the Ebola virus. We were blamed for the AIDS virus, even though there are reports are saying that there were some guys at a sauna at bathhouse in New York City injecting guys with this weird stuff, and then all of a sudden that's HIV, and that's a whole different case I'll get into later on in another show. But we were the ones that made HIV, right? We the ones that created HIV in a facility somewhere. Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. And gays are blamed for Canada. Gays are blamed for what's going on in Syria. Yes, I'm not kidding you. What I'm telling you is what many pastors, wackadoodles, right-wing reactionaries, Dixiecrats have said in the past about gay people and what we're being blamed for. Oh yeah, we were blamed for the Unabomber. Some people say that he was gay, which was not true. Then we were blamed for the Oklahoma City bombing, even though that was kind of a little sketchy, because then they found bombs after that. The first explosion, then they found that many cops were kind of telling people not to say anything. You know, that's kind of that's a sketchy event too. People should do their homework on that. I'm just saying, I'm digressing here, but we are blamed for everything. Some stupid fuck walks over and slips on a banana peel, it's the gay's fault. So this whole thing about pedophilia, again, it's nothing but a slogan and a way to deviate from the real discussion here. Now, he's talking about that homosexuals molest more. How can that be? Because isn't that 1 in every 4 boys get molested somehow? That's a lot of boys. You're going to have a lot of gays doing that. And if you do your math correctly, you're not going to be able to even get, I don't know. I think even if you get all the gay men in this country and then you compare it to all the gay supposed pedophilia, it won't match. You're going to have more pedophilia than have gay men. But he's saying it's not the majority of them that are pedophiles. And then how does this compute to these stupid idiots? Oh yeah, but they have the Bible on their side, so they don't need to explain anything, Jose. All you do is go to Chick-Fil-A and stuff your fucking fat face with deep fried chicken and some gravy and some waffle fries and whatever other shit they sell there. Oh yeah, that's all you need to worry about. And if you eat at Chick-Fil-A, you're gonna make Jesus happy. Does that make sense to you? No, it doesn't, genius. I mean, seriously, these are people off the cloth, really? Theologians who studied the Bible for many years in seminary, and they come out and say this shit? Am I supposed to be impressed enlightened. No, this is really stupid rhetoric. Again, I'm not going to say that straight people are the majority, that straight guys that molest. But let's just say that, okay, let's say that the majority of the molesters are gay, which is not true. But let's just assume that it is true. So what? I mean, the majority of the real stats is that the overwhelming majority of molesters are men. So does that mean that we should do something against men because they molest kids more than women? Doesn't make any sense. Or what about Catholics? Catholics molest kids more than your average, than the average population. Should we then do something about the Catholics? Have a little plan in place, to put them in trains and send them off to these camps where they can be all Catholic-y? And then once we run out of money, we can just put them in the ovens? That's not going to happen, obviously. I wouldn't be for that either. Duh. I'm against the oppression of people based on their religious thoughts. I just don't want them to also be oppressive against other people who have different religious thoughts. That's all. But if that were the case, I would say that Catholic priests and Catholic archbishops and bishops should be staying away from kids. We should stop them. We should investigate them. We should do... I don't know what this priest is saying. I don't know what he wants to achieve. Okay, so now what? Do we keep gays away from children? No, this is fear porn. That's what it's called. Fear porn. Where you get a bunch of idiot inbreds inside of a room, you call it a church, and you say, the gays are going to come after your kids, and they're going to molest them, and they're going to eat their cocks, and they're going to shove their penises up their little buttholes. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be Sodom and Gomorrah all over again. Jesus is coming back. He's going to destroy this world. You're all going to die. We are going to rapture into heaven and see the glory of Jesus. Be part of his kingdom. Blah, blah, blah. All this other bullshit. This is America, folks. Land of the weasels. We'll be right back. Just in case you didn't know, what happened there? Oh, okay. Here it is. U.S. author Gore Vidal. Remember him? He's one of my favorite playwrights. And he has died. I think it was on Monday. He died Monday night. Or was it last night? Yeah, it was last night. And he passed away at age 86. And his home in Los Angeles on Tuesday evening, with the cause of death to be believed to be complications from pneumonia. Gore Vidal produced 25 novels, including the best-selling Burr and Myra Brankridge, more than 200 essays, and several plays. He also ran for political office twice and was a well-known commentator. His nephew Burr Steers told U.S. media that his uncle had been ill for quite a while. Sir David Frost, who interviewed Vidal, paid tribute to the writer, saying that he was a great literary figure. And yes, he was. He will be missed, and I really did enjoy your plays, Gore, and hope you're in a better place. So, anyway, let's get to this bit over here. Tweety Bird, Chris Matthews from Hardball, got into a little argument with Barney Frank. You know, that gay congressman that we all proud of. I'm not really that proud of him. I mean, not only is he really... he really stunk in this interview. It was really painful to see this. It's really painful to really, watch two juveniles going at it like this. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I remember when I see this, it reminds me of high school speech and debate class, and I mean, it was just why? I mean, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this is why. Well, but here it is, Tweety Bird, aka Chris Matthews. I told a gay man. I did told a gay man.
Welcome back to Harvard. Well, the 2012 Democratic platform endorsed same-sex marriage. Well, the party's platform drafting committee took the first step this week in recommending that it be included. Next comes the tricky part, the wording. Will the plan call for a federal law covering all Americans or endorse a state-by-state approach? Trickier still is how this will play with voters.
I thought a putty tat.
They just have created a wedge issue here, dividing their own supporters,
uniting
uniting Republicans against them.
A putty tat.
Barney Frank is on the platform drafting committee doing the work on this. Time Magazine's Mark Halpern is a senior MSNBC political analyst. Gentlemen, I want you to watch a conversation I had a while back in this summer, by the way, with Antonio Villaraigosa, who's the mayor of Los Angeles, also, of course, the chair of the Democratic National Convention this summer in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's watch what he had to say. When the Democrats write their platform this summer, when you write your platform on same-sex, will you endorse a state approach to this, or a federal law that basically
he meant gay marriage,
the right of people to marry someone of the same sex? Would it be federal or state-by-state the party will support?
I think I've made it fairly clear. I think that marriage equality is a fundamental liberty that the federal government and our Constitution ought to protect. I've made that very clear. You're not nailing me to anything, my friend. I believe in that. I think it's about family values. I think we ought to keep families together on the immigration.
You're not going to nail him, Twitty.
When someone wants to marry,
I call a putty tat.
The federal government should not be interfering with that right.
Although, should the federal government support the right to a same-sex marriage in the law?
Yes.
Okay, Congressman Frank, is that how far your drafting is taking us to
Chris,
a...
I literally don't understand what that means. There is a confusion here. There has never been a federal law saying this is what marriage is. Marriage has been left to the states. Now, first I would say, as far as this being a wedge issue, the Democrats already in the U.S. and through the president have made clear we are opposed to bans on same-sex marriage. The House voted, and I'm puzzled. People
Really?
Backwards. A platform.
Well, if you are opposed to the bans, then why did you vote for them? I mean, the Democrats voted for the DOMA, and Democrats had an ample opportunity when they were elected in 2008, and they had supermajority in the Senate and a big majority in the House, and they just goof off. They were working on that bill to give money to the health insurance companies. Of course, I forgot.
Is supposed to tell the elected officials how they should vote. We've already voted in the House 10 days ago on an amendment to reaffirm the Defense of Marriage Act, which denies recognition to those state marriages which have been allowed. The Republicans voted 230 to 5 to reaffirm this cancellation of our marriages, and the Democrats voted 161 to 17 against DOMA. So the two.
Oh, okay, but it's 2012. Republicans have control of the House, and he's saying, well, we shouldn't use it as a wedge issue, but we are using it as a wedge issue because we Democrats are better. We're better than the Republicans because even though we had an opportunity in 2008, 2009, and 2010 to repeal DOMA, we didn't do it. We had an opportunity to enact Employment Non-Discrimination Act. We didn't do it. We had an opportunity to do other things. We didn't do it. Why? Because we were jerking off and we were playing with our little dicks with the big insurance companies. As we wrote Obamacare. That's what was going on. And even Barney Frank here admits to that. In a previous interview, he said that, that the Obamacare wasn't really a good idea. Oh, no shit, Sherlock.
Parties have already split there. But the point is, there is no federal law to be passed. Look at the situation with race. When there were states that would not allow interracial marriage, even after the Civil Rights Acts had passed in 64 and 65, there was no federal law saying that interracial marriage had to be allowed. It was done by the Supreme Court. The constitutional framework has always been states decide who gets married. Our objection at DOMA is that it, for the first time, has the federal government picking and choosing who can get married. But there's never been a federal law defining marriage. I don't know how you would do one. It goes beyond the role of the federal.
But Barney, I'm sorry to interrupt. We already have a law that does that. It's called the Defense of Marriage Act. Your party supported it and passed it in 1996. Signed by Bill Clinton, a Democrat. Jose, but Bill Clinton now supports gay marriage. What are you talking about? Oh, okay.
The federal government,
sure.
as I said, to recognize
but now what's happening today? Nothing.
Now, it is true that the Supreme Court stepped in the Loving case to say you can't use race, but that was a court decision. It wasn't a congressional enactment, and it wasn't a principle. This is a phony issue.
Okay, well, Congressman, you know there are other precedents. We had the Civil Rights Act in 64. It said you couldn't deny somebody access to public accommodation. That's a federal law. I said, just tell me this.
Christopher, you're wrong, Christopher. Ah. Oh, look at Tweety Bird. He's like, whoa. I told an angry gay congressman. I did tell an angry gay congressman.
You're wrong
about what?
In 1964, there were.
I thought pot was supposed to make you relaxed. Why is Barney being all uppity today? No, Christopher. Yeah, you're wrong, Christopher. Yeah. Settle down.
Federal state laws against interracial marriage, and the law.
I'm not talking about interracial marriage. I'm talking about public accommodations. You said there's no precedent for the federal government declaring
defining
something.
Marriage.
Right.
No, Chris, please don't distort what I said. I said there is no precedent for federal law defining marriage. Of course, federal laws declare things all the time, but you made my point. In 64, in that far-reaching Civil Rights Act, and later in the Voting Rights Act, the federal government didn't try to strike down the state ban on interracial marriages. That had to be done through the courts. It was not something that could.
Actually, let me just end this here. I mean, I can't stand this, but let me just say this. Barney is a little bit wrong. Let me tell you why. Learn your history, Barney. Utah was a polygamist state. Obviously, it was run by Mormons. And the Congress decided to admit Utah under one condition. That Utah repealed the laws that allow for polygamy. Yes, the Congress has, and many times in its past, weighed in on marriage. It did so with the Mormons and Utah, with polygamy, and it has done so recently with the Defense of Marriage Act. This whole thing about states' rights, that's all just a cover. Because the federal government has recognized marriages since we had the income tax. Even before then, the federal government has recognized marriages and has done many regulations based on that. I don't agree with every single one of them. I'm sure we can repeal a few of them and we don't need them. But Barney doesn't know his history. You have to go back to school, Barney, and lay off the pot. Lay off the tricks. Be a good gay man. Be a good congressman. I taught an angry fat gay congressman. I did taught an angry fat congressman. Yep, and you better watch out, Tweety, because he's hungry. He's gonna eat you alive. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's show. This is Jose Soto. You're listening to the Jose Soto Show. We'll be back tomorrow. See you then. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. And we'll be here again. Good night.